The new Nintendo president, let me see, what was his? Oh, yes. Nintendo's president, Tatsumi Kimishima, he has stated that the Nintendo NX is going to be an entirely uh, new console. And that with the console, it's not going to be a replacement for the current Wii U and 3DS systems. And let me read exactly what he says. Here's his quote. The NX is neither the successor to the Wii U nor the 3DS. It's a new way of playing games, which I think will have a larger impact than the Wii U, but I don't feel it's a pure replacement for the Wii U. Um, he also said it looks like another quote from last year. He said, if you only expand upon existing hardware, it's dull. In some shape or form, we're always thinking about how we want to surprise players as well as our desire to change each person's video gaming life. So, Matt, I'd like to get your take on that first before I give you mine.
Well, I think that, you know, I'm certainly excited to hear that because I there were a couple of good games, I guess, that came out for the Wii U, and they were great and all, but I'm really looking for like Nintendo's next step up in the console game because when Microsoft and Sony went to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, Nintendo kind of just had an add-on, there wasn't really like a new console or anything like super extremely game-changing about it other than just like the Wii U pad. I think streaming came along with that too. Um, so I'm actually kind of really looking forward to a new Nintendo console and like the new look of it. And I talked about this on our last podcast, but I always like it's just nostalgic seeing new consoles coming out, just like what they look like compared to what they did before. And also, there was another thing on here talking about that along with the expansion for the NX, or not the expansion, but like the NX being its own thing, there have been some rumors about how uh, they've been apparently there's been some talk of switching from discs to cartridges, so going back to like what we used for the N64 or for the Super Nintendo. Um, I think there's kind of like some benefits and like also some downsides to going that way. What do you think?
Well, I mean, as far as going from a optical disc format to something that's like a cartridge, I think the as far as things like SD cards have come and solid state drives have come, um, the only thing you're still going to have to worry about is the price. Like if you take an SD card and an SD card, a 64 gigabyte SD card, well, that already exceeds the capacity for a Blu-ray disc. And we have, some that go up to 256 gig, maybe even higher at this point. And they do get expensive. I want to say, a 32 gig SD card probably about what, 15, $20 right about now. Whereas a Blu-ray, when you make them in bulk, you're paying probably only a few pennies, if that, per disc. So the manufacturing costs um, for a cartridge, there's going to be way up there. So, but everything else is fantastic. It used to be you had memory and space limitations on a cartridge, whereas you don't really have to worry about that anymore. You have just as much, even more space than you do on a disk-based system now. Um, what did you think about him saying it's not a successor to the Wii U or the 3DS?
Sims, him saying that for the Wii U, again, that makes me happy because that means that like we're leaving behind the Wii U, the Wii, like everything like that. Um, Not to say the motion control, wireless remote, being able to like control things is a bad thing. I just think that maybe for a long time, or doing that for a long time, people kind of get bored because there's only so much you can do with that to change it up for different games. So to see them, to him say that it's not going to be a continuation. Maybe a controller again. Kind of like the type of controller that they had that plugged in. It wasn't really like the GameCube controller, but it was, in my opinion, it was better than using a Wii remote. Um, Maybe something more along the lines of that. And then the 3DS part kind of that also kind of intrigues me because I did some research on the 3DS and just the DS family line in itself. And we've actually been having the DS in itself hasn't really changed a whole lot as far as like I don't know, maybe in like look and also just like I think graphically it's changed a little bit, but since like 2004, like that was when the first DS came out. Like everything's kind of like the same design. It's just been coming out, coming out, coming out, and it's just been kind of like the same thing. And I don't know if it's just me, just like getting kind of curious on if they're gonna come out with any like new type of portable gaming station. And maybe that's why they included that in the 3DS. Maybe the NX. They'll also come with a new portable gaming system, which I feel like for people who just got a new 3DS might make them a little bit more irritated, especially since for some games for the new 3DS, they were exclusive to the new 3DS and just not for the 3DS, which I know kind of bugged a few people.
And see what I took to mean. Sorry about that. What I took to mean with the him saying it's not a successor to the Wii U and the 3DS is he's basically saying this is not a replacement system. Almost like this is this is not going to be something that necessarily takes the place of Wii U and 3DS. So we might be. It's weird that he says that because the only really major game left on the Wii U's lineup that's going to come out is Zelda at this point. So it's kind of weird that he comes out and says that this isn't necessarily, at least the way I'm reading it, it's not going to be the thing that replaces the Wii U and the 3DS in the market. And 3DS is still selling well, software sales, hardware sales. And they said the same thing about how the original DS was not the successor to the Game Boy Advance. Almost like they were going to, almost like they're saying they're going to continue the Game Boy line, which we all know that didn't happen. So I don't know. I definitely think maybe I'm just reading it wrong, but there's no way that they're going to keep that this isn't going to be a Wii U replacer, especially with the rumors that next year they're actually going to stop manufacturing Wii U's.